close-up of Patricia Morison celebrating her 100th birthday. But that isn't for 4 more days, though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, she'll make it. And the gentleman who's been very much a part of her life is John Boab.
Yes, it is.
Say anything you want. I won't delete it.
Hello.
That's fair enough.
You know, Pat, there are really 3 John Boabs now.
What?
There are 3 John Boabs. My nephew John
Yeah?
has got a child, and we named him John.
Oh my
Now
God.
there's-
John 1, 2, 3, huh?
That's right.
Okay, darling, we'll catch you later.
Oh, well, stay
Well,
out.
that's all right, you can stay in it. Come on, Lou, come on. This is Ted Seifman and Patricia Morison. And of course, I know both of them. Patricia for 55 years and Ted for about 5 or more years from the stage performances. Indeed. Yep. I'm jealous. Patricia's birthday cake. This is being done at the University Club in Pasadena, California. And we'll just do a survey of the room here, see who's around here. That's all right, Christine. I'll get out of here.
We introduce our compere for the afternoon, my good colleague, Mr. John Boab.
Both Pat and I are really glad to be here. But whenever I say Pat and I, people assume husband and wife, brother and sister. We're not. We are just the 2 best friends in the world. I love her, and I know that I've been blessed having her in my life. So it's fun for me to be here. We're going to sort of wander through Pat's life, her career, and her personal life. Okay, it really is amazing to me. I mean, I sit here and I think, oh my God, 1948, you create a role, and it's a role of a lifetime. And this many years later, to still be remembered for it. And I can assure you that every day, Pat gets something from somewhere, a request, and she's always there, and always happy to accommodate. I'm going to wander a little with Pat, okay? Hi. We've been on these chairs so long, I think I'm taking them home. Pat, let's stop Shakespearean roles and Anne and the King, and always played so many English roles. Most people think you're English, but it's not true.
No, I was born in Manhattan.
A Manhattan baby, Broadway baby. And,
My parents were British.
okay. Did you hear that?
Mike's not on.
Right, hold on. My mic's not on.
Is it on now?
Yes, thank you.
So I was born in Manhattan. My parents were British. Now, my mother was Irish.
And very proud of it. We hear that people's names have changed in this industry. Archie Leach becomes Cary Grant, and Norma Jean becomes Marilyn Monroe. How did you become Patricia Morison? Did that begin at birth or what?
How did it begin? Oh, my entire name is Eileen Patricia Augusta Fraser Morrison.
What more time?
Eileen Patricia Augusta Fraser Morrison. And we cut it down to Pat.
Even though you're not English, or not from England, you went back to England.
Well, my mother was born in the west of Ireland. My father was born and educated in England. But I was born in Manhattan.
You were born in Manhattan, but when you were a baby, you had occasion to go back.
Well, yes, well, it was during World War I when I was born. I go back that far. And my mother decided to take me to England to be near my father, who was fighting in France. And she took me as a baby on a ship. And there was a man on the ship who kept coming over to me and saying, "Oh, the poor little darling, she's never going to get to the other side." And my mother got very suspicious, and she told the captain, and the captain got him drunk, and they found he was going to blow up the ship. Or I wouldn't be here.
What was it that they found in this?
What?
What did they find in this room?
Dynamite.
Yeah. This is World War I, and they were blowing the ships up.
The Irish were fighting England during World War I, while England was fighting France. And they were trying everything, and they were going to blow up the ship.
Okay. While we're talking
Now, my
about
mother
England,
is Irish, now, for Pete's sake.
yeah, we're talking about Ireland. You went back to England during World War II.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I went with Al Jolson and Merle Oberon. We flew across in a flying seaplane, which went forever. And we landed in London. I know the first night at the Savoy Hotel, there was a huge air raid, and I was so excited. We were told to keep our curtains closed. I had to look out. See
Pat, what did Merle Oberon do? I mean, she's not tap dance.
She recited the White Cliffs of Dover. And she was lovely, and
Mr. Jolson?
well, if you know Al Jolson, you know what he did. He just took the stage.
How did you get along with him? Oh, says silence.
Most people didn't. We were on this, in New York at LaGuardia Field on this seaplane, waiting for him, and he arrived late, and he looked at Frank McHugh, Alan Jenkins, and Merle Oberon, and myself, and he said, "I don't know why the hell they sent you, I could have done this myself."
Well, he was wrong. And tell us about your parents. I know that your father had a very varied career. Would you tell us about that?
Well, his father was with the Canard Line, and he grew up with the Canard Line. And but then he came back on that, and he wrote plays, and he did all kinds of things.
And your mother?
Well, my mother, she was a very intelligent, interesting woman, and not easy to talk about her.
It's a very emotional thing. I had a great relationship with the mother, and we found out quite a bit about it not too long back. Somebody called Pat and said, you know, I went to an auction where you bid on things blindly, and I bid on a box that was sealed. And when the man opened it, it was Pat's mother's writing. She's a fabulous writer, and she wrote on onion skin. And all these beautiful, I mean seriously beautiful plays. And one of the prettiest, I can't recite it, but she wrote a beautiful poem about what it was like when they put this beautiful baby in her arms when she was a baby. And your mother did something at the end of the war that I thought was rather interesting when she went and spoke somewhere.
I forgot about that.
When, at the end of the war, she spoke where?
At the end of World War I.
Yes.
But she was in the British intelligence during World War I. And at the end of the war, all the ladies who worked in the intelligence were losing their jobs. And they all came to my mother. They said, oh, we'd like to keep our jobs, but the returning veterans should have their jobs back, but we want our job. And they were too shy because they were British, my mother being Irish. She said, I'll go and speak in the House of Commons. And she did. She went to the House of Commons, and they made her wait and wait. And finally, this gentleman came up to hear her. And there was a lady in front of her who had a petition, and every time she tried to present her petition, he kept saying, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. So when my mother came up, she said, I'm going to stand right in front of you so you can hear every word I have to say. That was my mother. And she pleaded her case and the case of the women. And they all said, oh, Mrs. Morison, you should stay here. You could become an MP. She said, no, I'm taking my family back to New York. And that was it.
Okay, but it was the years after World War I were depression years.
Yes, they were.
How did your family survive?
Well, my father was, I told you he was at sea most of his life. He was with the canal line, never had a land job. He decided to open a nightclub in Greenwich Village. And my mother thought that was great. And it was called the Cheery Optimist, if I remember. Anyway, my mother did all the decorating, and he hired actors, and that's how I got really interested in acting. And then after the show, every night we had a walk-up on 89th Street. They used to come over for late supper, and they'd stay practically all night, and I used to sit up and watch them entertain. Honey, you want to go to my history?
They were working in a club. They had jobs, which is exciting during the Depression. What were you doing at that point? You were just in high school.
I was just in high school, Washington Irving High School.
And for a living, did you go to work?
I did later on. I was in Washington High School, and I won a scholarship that would have taken me to Paris to study art. And I said to my mother, I don't want to go to Paris. And she said, oh, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be an actress. She said, well, we're going to find the best school for you. And that was my mother.
I noticed a reference once in an interview you did that on your resume, you wrote, I can sing if I have to.
That's right.
So you didn't originally think of yourself as a singer?
No. I was an actress.
Okay. While we're still in England and talking about it, years later you did a play that we played the most elegant, the most beautiful English woman. And you also had occasion to work with people that we all years later admire. And when you did the first show that you did, would you mind telling us something about it?
I understudied Helen Hayes in Victoria, Virginia.
Understudying Helen Hayes and Victoria Regina.
I never get on, but yes.
How old were you at the time?
I was about 19, 20, and I used to sit by the stage door, and every night Vincent Price, he played Prince Albert, came in, and he was so gorgeous, and I had such a crush on him, and he paid no attention to me at all. And it wasn't until years later he had a television series, and I did hope we did with a scene from Othello, who played Shakespearean actress, and I told him the story. He said, "Oh, I never saw you."
Just what a 19-year-old wanted to hear.
Yeah.
In New York, you talked about auditioning for a show where you had to sing, and that was called
The Two Bouquets.
The Two Bouquets.
It was an operetta.
Well, tell us a little about it.
Well, I went to audition for this show, and I'd written on my resume that I could sing if I had to. And I lined up, and I was terribly nervous. And, I've forgotten, just my 100-year-old line. I've forgotten what I did.
Who was the director on Two Bouquets? Do you remember? Mark Connolly.
Mark Connolly, you've heard of him, one of the great directors. And Alfred Drake was my leading man. And in that, he played a character called Albert Porter, who was too shy to even talk to me. And if you knew Albert Drake, that was quite a change.
When you were doing the audition process, how did The King and I come about?
All these questions.
You didn't have to audition for that.
What?
You didn't audition for The King and I.
No. I've forgotten how it came about.
I think it was offered to you when you went to London. You were in London with something else.
I was in London with Kiss Me Kate. That's right.
Okay. When you first were on Kiss Me Kate in London, you rehearsed with your Brenner originally.
What, darling?
When you were doing King and I, I'm going to jump around a little bit.
The King and I?
Yeah. You, Brenner, didn't rehearse with you originally because you were rehearsing.
No, he was on vacation.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I hadn't met you, Brenner, and I was rehearsing with the understudy, and he was on vacation, and I had not met him. And finally, he shows up when I'm rehearsing with the understudy, and he's looking at me, and he starts doing all kinds of acrobatics. And he said, "Would you have dinner with me, Miss Morrison?" I'd been told to say no. And I said, "I'm sorry." They said, "You stopped by my dressing room on the way out." And I knocked on his dressing room door, and he said, "Come in." And he's sitting in front of the mirror completely naked. And I looked him straight in the eye, and I said, "You wish to see me, Mr. Vernon?" And he got embarrassed. He said, "Oh, I have to stay in my body." I said, "I understand, Mr. Vernon. That was my meeting with you, Vernon." But we became very good friends.
While we're there, why don't we look at a clip from The King and I? Okay?
Not with me.
We're going to show a clip. But I'm also from that school, that if you've got a great song, repeat it. And they'll go out whistling it. And having worked with people like Jerry Herman and them, they took lessons from this, and I think it was delightful.
Well, thank you.
Now, staying with The King and I for a while, there are a couple of of stories I'd like to hear about that we've talked about in the past. One of them had something to do with your dressing room and a full-length mirror. And somebody who liked that mirror. Do you want to tell us about that?
Oh, what was the actor?
Of the actor.
Yeah, there was an actor I did The King and I with, and I had a full-length mirror, and he didn't. And he would walk in and get on his, he was not a very good king. But he'd get all made up as a king, and he, without even asking, walk right into my dressing room to look at himself in the mirror.
And how did you handle that?
I forgot, how did I handle it?
On stage. You had to.
I slapped him, yeah.
And his reaction.
He said, oh, he didn't get mad. He said, gee, honey, you hit me kind of hard.
So that was the way you handled people who wanted to share with urine. The second one had to do with, this is a little tough for Pat, but we're going to do it. You were signed to do The King and I at a massive football field in Utah.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that and what happened?
People want to hear that.
Yeah, I think they'd like to. I think it's an indication of your personal life.
No, I'm also the people in Utah. It's a wonderful story for them. I was doing The King and my mother had never seen me in it. And my brother was going to drive her to come and see me in it. And the opening night, they weren't there. And the reason was my brother had had a fatal automobile accident. And that was it. Although it was so interesting, there was no one, I had no understudy. And I had to finish the performance. Those wonderful people at university, his actors were amazing. They stayed away from me. But when it was over, the entire college came out to the airport to see me off. It was an awful but a wonderful time.
Out of that, you knew that your mother was shattered. And
Yes.
And you wanted to do something about it, so you called somebody.
Oh, yes, well, this is a little, one of my dear friends was Bishop Fulton Sheen, you know who he was. And my mother was an Irish Protestant, and there's nobody more Protestant than an Irish Protestant. And I called him, and he said, I'm going to call your mother. And he did. And when I was talking to her later, oh, she said, he's so nice, he talks just like a Protestant.
I think that section of Pat had converted to Catholicism.
Yes.
And the person who taught her
My instruction was from
was Fulton Sheen.
Yeah.
So she actually went to Sheen's quarters and he converted her. And she has some lovely.
Well, he instructed me. I was converted. Who knows?
This is interesting how history just keeps going with the play. That is important as The King and I eventually plays like Kiss Me Kate. Just yesterday, a young man who was a young man, his name was Joey Santana, and he lives in Portland, Oregon, and he sent Pat an email. She doesn't follow email, but they sent it to me. And he wrote the most beautiful letter, and he sent photographs. He was 11 years old, and he auditioned for the young boy in the touring company of The King and I, and played it with Pat for quite a while, and actually had a career from that one show. But he said he'd never worked with anybody who was as generous and kind there's a scene that we think of as a song. I think of it as almost seduction, and it's yet a very happy song. But if you watch the magic that happens between Pat and you, Brenna, you sort of think that Anna, the King of Siam, could have gone in another direction. She could have been the Queen of Siam. Why don't we show that clip? I think it's just spectacular.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
So do we.
I want to go back again in time to how you eventually ended up an actress. You were offered a scholarship somewhere and turned it down, correct?
I was offered for the high schools in New York. I was going to be an artist. I was offered a scholarship in Paris to study art. And I said to my mother, I don't want to go to Paris. And my mother said, what do you want? I said, I want to be an actress. And she said, oh, we better find the best drama school for you. So that's how I got it.
And you studied at a place that I think a lot of people.
The name was called the Neighborhood Playhouse. It was the best drama school in New York. And studied dance with Martha Graham, Moscow Art Theater teachers. It was a tremendous training.
What was it like studying with Martha Graham?
A lot of fun. I was sore all the time. My muscles. I remember I had an English uncle whom I never met, Scottish. He came from Scotland to visit my mother, and he appeared replete with a kilt and everything. And he saw me stumble, I couldn't walk. And he turned on my mother. He said, you are ruining this child's life by forcing her to do this dancing. Let me take her to Scotland and take her up into the mountains, and I'll really build her up.
Fortunately, you didn't. Pat, around the time of Two Bouquets,
Can you pull in that way? Thank you.
it was a period where a lot of the Broadway performers were being wooed by Hollywood.
Yes.
What happened with you as from Two Bouquets? Studios came calling.
Well, what I did, I had an agent who kept taking me to have screen tests. And I had screen tests for Paramount and Metro and Universal. And Paramount picked me up.
Picked you up with a few other people at that time.
What, darling?
Who were the other people?
Oh, at the same time was Mae West was testing. Who else was testing?
Monty Cooper?
Susan Hayward. We were contemporaries. And I've forgotten those. And I got to see them. The casting guy would make me sit and watch them take their tests, so I wouldn't be nervous when I did mine. Yeah.
You said you had a nice relationship with Susan Hayward, is it?
Oh, very nice, yes. We started together. Very nice. Very long time.
It was common knowledge at that time that studios brought people in as threats to
Yeah.
other actresses on the lawn. And
Well, I don't know.
we had Betty Grable as a threat to Alice Faye, Marilyn Monroe as a threat to Betty Grable. Who were you a threat to, or were you?
Well, I don't think but I know I lost a wonderful role. There was a movie called The Glass Key with Alan Ladd, and I was supposed to be the lead in that. And I was in Edith Head's dressing room being fitted for my costume when they called me and said they turned and gave it to
how did that feel at that time?
Terrible.
Did they offer you something else?
No.
And yet you stayed at Paramount for 4 years. You did a lot of movies with great romance.
Yes, I did.
You know?
Well, honey, it was a good income.
When they were grooming you, and I know we were watching all this endless movie, the stills today. When they groomed you, did they tell you how to wear your hair?
Oh, yes. They had a big thing because of my long hair. They kept wanting me to cut it. First of all, because most of the people in hairdressing didn't know how to dress long hair. And it was easier than short. And I refused. And they said, well, your only rules are going to play are bad women. I did.
Well, you didn't wear your long hair in the first movie that you did. Do you want to tell us about that movie? It's interesting to me. The movie was called Persons in Hiding, and
It was based on a real case.
For an amazing resemblance years later to Bonnie and Clyde. So tell us about it.
It was based on a famous FBI case where this couple decided to kidnap a famous banker. It was called the Urschel kidnapping. And they took him in his house way in the hills, in a cabin, and had him locked up there. And the role I was playing was the FBI. You know, the FBI, and J. Edgar Hoover was head of the FBI then. And in the play, I'm supposed to ambush him and catch him. And that was it. And then I got a chance. They invited me to Washington to meet J. Edgar Hoover. And I went with my mother. And I think Anthony Quinn was brand new at Paramount. And he got a new role, and he came on, Tony Quinn. You know, he just a kid.
But by playing the sort of nasty girl, she started off very sweet, and she became very...
I always ended up playing the bitch.
One of my favorite moments is in a movie called Dress to Kill, and it was the Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And there was a wonderful moment in it where this dirty old man is coming on to you, and he's got his back to the door, and your very jealous lover thinks he's going to kiss you, and he throws a knife and kills him. And the guy falls to the floor, and I just would love to know, you were wearing, and if you see all the publicity shots of that, this long white box, and it fell to the floor, and it's become sort of a camp situation too. And when you had to leave, you put the white box, but the guy was dead, and he was laying across the white box.
Yeah.
Was that moment accidental? That he died?
I think it was accidental.
Because you were so cold-hearted.
My line was, my henchman, see, he was making a pass at me, and I had a guy in the door who didn't like it, and he threw a knife, and the knife went to the guy's back, and he fell over on my white fur. And my first thought was to save the fur, yes.
And she did it. Very cold. You did a lot of
And
other.
my line was, you didn't have to kill him.
You did a lot of those ladies. You did it in Song of the Thin Man, where you killed Leon Ames.
Oh, yes.
It's an interesting story. Many years later, tell what happened.
Well, in Song of the Thin Man, at the end of the film, I shoot Leon Ames over a dinner table on a cruise. I kill him. And then years later, John and I found us, we're on this cruise, and we're at the dinner table, and Leon Ames was at the table. And he looked at me and he said, "You killed my father.
And it turned out to be Leon Ames Jr., who I had directed in Butterflies Are Free somewhere. I don't know. So, you said you were disappointed in losing roles that you really wanted.
Oh, yes.
But years later, you thought of yourself as retired. You were not one of those desperate ladies who thought, I've got to get going, I've got to have a facelift, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. But you did go up for an interview when you were about 90, maybe late 80s, remember, with James Cameron.
I thought that.
It was for Titanic.
Oh, for Titanic, yes. Yes.
Did you want that role?
I would have loved that role. But I didn't get it.
What did you think of Gloria Stewart at the bottom?
Lovely. Wonderful.
That's an easy word, isn't it? When you want to go love. You did get to play some nice women, though, in Hitler's Bad Man. Hitler the Bad Man and Song of Bernadette. And then you played a nice girl with Maureen O'Hara was the villainess in a movie called The Fallen Sparrow.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And talk about that movie because it's really an interesting film. It starred John Garfield.
And Walter Schlesach. Walter
You
Schlesach.
see the way she said Walter Slezak. I think we know who the villain was.
Yes.
Did you enjoy making that film?
Yes, it was fine. I like working with John Garfield. It's nice.
There are a lot of pictures of you with John Garfield, and I very seldom see a picture of John Garfield and Maureen O'Hara. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I don't think they were that friendly. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, years later, after you made about 30 movies, your agent
A lot of them forgettable.
a lot of them forgettable. However, your manager felt a need for change in your career,
Yeah.
and you were asked to go out to Rockingham Road. This was pre-OJ, and in Brentford. Do you want to tell us what that was about?
Well, he was taking me out a ride about Sunset, and he said, I'm taking you to Cole Porter's house. It isn't about anything, it's just to get used to you singing for people. And that's how I met Cole Porter.
And what did you sing for him? He did ask you to sing.
Something from The King and I think. And he said he handed me part of the score, take this home and learn it, and come back. And he had a hard time raising money. He would give these elegant dinner parties for all his millionaire friends, and he'd have performers perform the music of Kiss Me Kate, and they say, I don't think Cole has it anymore. But he never gave up, and that's what happened.
But he gave you the score, but he didn't offer you the role.
No.
How did that come about?
That came about that I was set to do one of the first series on television, which was called The Cases of Eddie Drake. And I was about to shoot on a Monday. And my agent called up and said, you're going to New York to sing for Cole Porter. And I said, but I'm shooting. He said, just forget about it. And at the same time, I was with the first USO group that went over to entertain the troops with Al Jolson during the war. So all the people who had entertained were supposed to be in Madison Square Garden for this big festival. So I said, I can't go, I'm shooting in the morning. And Wynn said, no, you're getting on the plane. And I flew to New York, and I did my bit in Madison Square Garden, and then I went to the Century Theater for these Sam and Bill Spivak and Cole Porter, and I sang for them, and then I came back home, and the next morning my agent called me and said,
So,
More than nice.
but you knew that there was a lot of competition for that role.
Oh, yes, every singing actress in
And
town.
originally they wanted an opera show.
They wanted an opera called Jungle and the Bachman. Yeah,
And whatever happened to her?
I don't know. She was at the Met for that season, then I never.
But then you got to play opposite Alfred again.
Yes,
But by this time it was a new Alfred. He had already done Oklahoma. It was
yes.
a huge star.
Well, it's the same Alfred. Alfred never really changed.
But you had the score, and then you found out you were going to do the show. When did you realize at the time that you signed that Cole Porter had not raised the money? Did they ever tell you that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Good.
He
And originally,
he took a lot, he got a lot of little bits of money here and there.
yeah, but originally, So in Love was not a song you were going to sing in the show, am I correct? Who was supposed to do it?
I have no idea.
Well, one day,
Yeah. Well, you know, Lisa Kurt couldn't sing this.
but it was
She's going to
yours.
be a baritone song, I guess.
Yeah, but there was one song in it that you were warned by the cast and by your friends and everybody else that you should not do it.
Oh, which one?
I Hate Men.
Oh, I Hate Men. Yes. I Hate Men, which was Catherine's diatribe against, you know, the taming of the shrew. And people, we were rehearsing it, and people saying to me, you know, oh, the other actors, Pat, you don't do that song, it's going to make you look terrible.
Well, let's look and see how terrible she is.
And I would go to Cole Porter and tell him, he said, Pat, do me a favor, just bang that tanker.
Okay, and we show the clip. Say that Kate was a gift. And you seem to relish keeping the memory of it and Cole Porter alive. And there are some people here tonight, or this afternoon, it is afternoon, who flew here from Naples, Florida. And I'd like to acknowledge them because as much as Pat adored Cole Porter, these people, one of them was related. I'd like to introduce Mag Cole Russell and her husband Steve Russell, and they're here right in the front row. They took a real securities route to get here. I think we went to four airlines to get here.
You didn't.
Yeah.
It was worth it.
Pat, there's so much more I'd like to ask you to share with the folks here today. But there is a song from Kate that in one word sums up how we feel about you from the 1958 television version of Kate that sums it up. And the word is wonderful. Could we see that? Most Pat about you and Alfred together is you're both such strong performers and strong singers and good actors, but the harmony, did it come easily or did you have to really work on it? Because it sounds like it was just meant to be.
Honey, it was just meant to be.
Great. I've got a little surprise for Pat. I told her I had a surprise, but she has no idea. Michael Feinstein, who's a good friend of Pat's and mine, and Michael has used Pat and things down at the music center and whatnot. But Michael did a little detective work, and I want to play something I hope will work, and I'd like it to be as loud as we can. And see if Pat recognizes it.
Okay.
two bouquets. And none of us thought it existed, that there was a copy of it. But Pat and the entire company, now maybe you'll remember it, you did most of the show, we've got most of it here, on Rudy Valley's radio show.
Oh my God.
And I don't know how Michael does it. God love him, what would we do without him? But Michael wanted to give Pat a special gift for today. And he said to me, I'd love it to be a surprise. And if you notice that it's 1938 and Pat was still singing the lyrics with it. So that's your little surprise, Pat.
Oh my God.
And I read an article when you were 89 that said you were not. It said, somebody asked if you were still singing, and you said, honey, I'm 89, I'm not going to be out there singing. Yet, you sing and perform at least 2 or 3 times a year for benefits, for the AIDS benefits stage, for Broadway Cares, that we fight AIDS in New York, the Actors Fund here. And what changed your mind? What changed your mind about singing again?
As long as I have a voice, I'll sing.
Okay, well, we know you have a voice. And
If I lose it, I can't.
I think we have to coax her into singing. Okay. Whenever you're Tom, are you
What
ready?
am I going to sing?
Starting with something.
Okay. Strange here, but true here, when I'm close to you, dear, the stars fill the sky, so in love with you am I. Even without you, my arms fall about you. You know, darling, why so in love with you am I. In love with the night, mysterious, the night when you first were there. In love with my joy, delirious, when I knew that you could care. So taunt me and hurt me, deceive me, desert me. I'm yours till I die. So in love. So in love with you, my love, am
Every standing ovation, the after leave stage, and you think that's it? But no. We're going to give you an encore. Yay! And Pat, tell the story about going into, about standing in the wings and watching the guys do the thing.
Oh yes, we have a number in K called Rush Up to Shakespeare that these 2 dumb gangsters sing. And I used to stand in the wings every night and watch them and always wanted to do it. So what you want me to say?
Well, I want you to do it. Tom Reed on the piano.
What clothes, what you do about nothing. Your Shakespeare, and they'll all count, fixed out, and they'll all count, Bodkins, and they'll all if she says she will buy it, we'll take it. Make her take it much more as you like it. If she fights for her clothes, you are mustn't. What are clothes, what you do about nothing? Brush up your Shakespeare, and they'll all count.
You sing for your supper. It's early, but I think it's not too early for us to wish Miss Morrison a happy birthday. So whoever wants to start with happy birthday to
Maybe cue the cake. The cake. We have a candle for you to blow out. Sorry, I was coming in from the side here. And all right, now begin, John. And go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, light the candle. Happy birthday to you. Somebody's fire went out.
All right, she's gonna pretend. Ready? 1, 2, 3,
That's okay, that was an out-of-town flag. Anyway, it is a joy to be here. It's always a joy to be with Pat and all of her friends. And I'm very, very grateful for this afternoon. I can't sing, but I could certainly sing her praises. Thank you so much for this afternoon, and I hope that we get to be here for Pat's 110.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Patricia. My name is Christine Frankia, and I'm the Major Gifts Officer here at the Playhouse, and it has been a special treat to get to know Patricia since the night you came to our Kiss Me Cake opening. And it just really, truly, you touched me, and I know everyone in this room will agree with me that you are a gem. So therefore, we are presenting you with a diamond, a very large diamond, for you to remember the Playhouse.
Oh my God, I love it.
Isn't it delicious?
Have you seen it?
You can hold it up. It can sit and catch all the light in your window as you're sitting there looking out. Okay. I knew she'd like that. What's really like a diamond? The size of that one, why not? Okay. Well, and thank you so much. And I know we've warned you out, but what we're going to do now is the cake is going to be being delivered to all of you so you can enjoy it while we take some questions. And Jonathan White from our marketing department will take questions. Do you have any questions for Patricia?
Anybody?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, raise your hand.
Where was our...
Can you?
Okay,
Yes.
I think some people do have questions.
We're going to start right here and then we'll go around.
We'll go around. If anyone has a question,
I have one, John.
please make them to Pat. Okay, I've asked enough questions tonight. Okay, go ahead.
What was Arthur Lubin in your life and time?
What? I didn't.
Arthur Lubin from your past? Arthur Lubin.
Oh, yes. Producer.
And didn't he give you one of your first interviews?
What, darling?
Did he give you one of your first
That was my
interviews?
first break, yeah.
You want to say anything more about him?
That's really a long time.
Do you remember the last time you saw him?
No.
At my house at a garden party.
Oh, really? Oh, yes, of course. Honey, I'm 100.
Honey, I'm only 85, but that's okay.
Next question. All right, we're going back over here.
Thank you for being here. It was delight to meet you. I was always wondering, with a gorgeous voice like you have, why you never went into opera. I could see you doing La Traviata, Mimi, all of those beautiful operas. Why didn't you do opera?
Oh, well, I studied it, but I never got asked.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I once did Carmen concert style. It was a long time ago.
You would have been wonderful in opera. You're wonderful anyway. You would have been opera. I could see you doing it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, honey.
All right, go over here.
Ms. Morrison, can you talk about your vocal training, how you got started as a singer?
Well, it was rather late. I always sang, but I never really studied. It was after I was in films for a while, and I was not very happy with the parts I was doing. And I always loved singing and classical music. And I was fortunate enough to meet with one of the teachers. He didn't take students, but I sat on his doorstep and finally decided. I studied with him, and then everybody said, why are you wasting your time? You're not a singer, you're an actress. And then, of course, they got surprised.
How did, I remember once you said something about Alfred's reaction to you going, Alfred Drake's reaction to you going to Hollywood. What did he say?
Oh, he told me, when he was leaving, he told me, don't you go out there, they will never know what to do with you.
And that was true.
That's what he said.
Well, I think you did some lovely films, and God knows you've got a lot of fans from your films, but I think,
Yeah, I never got the parts I wanted, but that's not unusual.
no. Well, that makes two of us. Okay. I'd like to say, because there are so many here who supported Pat today, that on May 9th, Pat will be performing in the stage banquet, the actual stage banquet. Is that going to be at the Savon?
Yes.
At the Savon Theater on May 9th. Yes, and they're going to be honoring Pat. I don't know why, just because she's 100. Okay. Anyway, do come around. She will do it for charity. But for me, it's always a joy. Any other questions? If not,
We have one here and we have a few others, so we'll start over here.
Not a question, but I'm so glad you can sing if you have to that.
All right, so over here.
Will you autograph my 1958 recording?
Oh my God!
can you still play that?
Yes, I've played it hundreds of times. My favorite musical, and you're absolutely terrific.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you have that.
You know, I'd like to give a little postscript to that. The thing I admire most about Pat is when we first worked together, we directed a lovely production of Pal Joey. She played Vera Simpson. It was I read an article recently that said I directed a decades ago, and I realized it was. I used the word decades, but it was 40 years ago. We did that.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, we did it at the F Street Theater, which is no longer in existence in San Diego. But the thing I love working with her and with Pat, and I think you saw it tonight, and you heard it from here, you understand every word. I'm sure that Rogers and Hammerstein and Cole Porter and all the others who have Pat's work feel the same way. It is such a joy to go to the theater and hear every word. And I think it was a joy today, and I'm not wearing my ear again. So that's my little post. Any other questions?
We have a few more throughout the room, so we're going to give it to Daniel first.
Pat, you told me a story about your experience with Louis V. Mayer. Can you repeat that?
Louis V. Mayer?
Yeah.
Oh, honey, that'll take a while. Well, I knew it. I used to go to his house for dinner. He always had these big dinner parties, and he'd be the king of the table. He always had these wonderful stories. But it was getting to a point, I was making a few movies as actor, and it was getting to a point where he was getting a little serious. And I remember one day he invited, I was filming, and he invited my mother up to his private dining room. And we're sitting up there, and he's telling her about his childhood, and he turns to my mother, and he said, I want you to know that I've just been checked up at the clinic in San Francisco, and I have the aorta of a man of 20. I said, oh, well, very nice. Spoke like that, you see. He was about to propose.
He did. While we're on that subject, Pat, I think it would be fun to hear the story about Frank Capra. Frank Capra. When Frank Capra came out.
Oh, Frank Capra. I forgot that.
Then we won't tell them. Okay.
Oh, no, we went to Mexico.
Yes.
Oh, there was a big junket early in the war, goodwill trip to Mexico City, and a lot of Hollywood people all went on the same plane and all stayed at the same hotel, Reform. And Frank Capra, we took another plane with Frank Capra and Count Wells, and we didn't go all the way to Mexico. We stopped at one of the coastal cities the night before. And he said, well, let's take a ride out of the boat in the bay. And we go out, and he is chasing me all over the boat. He had a thing for long hair. Pulling the pins out of my hair. And it was fine. Finally, the other had to say, Frank, behave yourself. And then we get into Mexico City, and he tried to get into my room. When it was all over, we all came back to this country. Years later, they had an anniversary at Universal, which was not long, it was a couple of years ago. And I was there, and Capra was there. And he came over to me, and he said, went on his knees, and he said, could you ever forgive me? I'd forgotten about it. Those are incidents that happened here.
But there was a follow-up with David Selznick was a follow-up, wasn't it? When you went to see him on the Paradigm case, David Selznick.
Oh, yes, I went to see David Selznick, and they were doing a movie. They eventually did a huge film called The Paradigm Case, and I went on about it. And he had been on that trip to Mexico, and I get there to be interviewed, and he said, you know, Pat, I have to to say, you were such a lady on that trip. And everybody was, and Frank Capra was way out of line. By the way, I'm going to Ensenada for the weekend. Yes, I didn't get the part.
We have another question.
Yes, Ms. Morrison, I brought you some flowers. I knew Ben Gazzara, and I don't know if you remember Marvin Page and AC Lyle. They passed away. But I remember Ben used to talk a lot about you, Mr. Ben Gazzara. You know, how a beautiful stage actress you were and a movie star. And especially how beautiful you are, and all the ladies in this audience. And I wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Also, Julie Adams, the actress, wanted to wish you a happy birthday as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So I think we have time for another question or so.
Hello, Ms. Morrison. I'm originally from Sri Lanka. I think you're the Maria Callas at the Broadway stage. You just, well, I could go on and on praising you, but I just wanted to know, are there any roles that you would have liked to have played, from any musicals? And also, I've read online that you're a mezzo-soprano, but I think you're a soprano. So I would like to hear what you think you are.
What do I think I am?
Yes. A soprano or a mezzo-soprano?
Mezzo.
Really? Okay. Although I think, like the other lady said, you could have...
I can sing soprano, yeah. But really the color is mezzo. Mezzo soprano.
What roles would you have liked to have played?
Oh, Carmen. I've done all my life I wanted to do Carmen. And Tosca anytime. They're wonderful, wonderful roles.
Well, Liz, I am glad you didn't pursue the opera.
Honey,
I think we're all very happy that you should.
I am happy with everything.
I can only tell you from my own experience, when Pat played, again, a not very nice woman, she played Vera Simpson, and Pal Joey got to sing Bewitched, and Little Den of Iniquity, and Taken. It was absolutely a joy to me, and I actually didn't even want to leave the rehearsal hall. When you get that kind of experience, it's not too long. When you get it, you really want to share. So, thank you. I also want to thank Tom Green for playing for us. And if that's the end of the questions, then I will say good afternoon for Ms. Morrison. And